I'll go here. So once a month or once a quarter, CCP, the mother company of CCP, the parent company, I should say, of CCP, Perlabis releases their quarterly earnings numbers because they are publicly traded and they have to do that to their investors. That call is done in Korean, but it's immediately translated to English as well, and there's a presentation. So I'll give you, I'll stop the music, and I'll give you guys a taste of what that looks like, of what that sounds like. So the call, it sounds something like this, right?
Which adjusted the difficulty of the desert and introduced a new class Megu. In particular,
they're talking about
after
Black
the
Desert,
Megu update,
and then in a
the
second they
December
talk about
user
EVE
index
Online.
improved in all regions, and we could confirm that user trends also improved. EVE Online, through the Uprising expansion pack, introduced a new type of warfare. With an interesting storyline added to a new combat system, we worked hard to give users a unique experience. In addition, an event for North American users was held in Las Vegas, and we had a valuable time sharing opinions with users, such as sharing future roadmaps. Black Desert and EVE, with steady communication with users and fresh content, was able to continue great performance in 2022. Going forward, we will continue to listen to the stories of our users and provide fun and fresh games.
So towards the investors, they are driving home the fact that they're listening to investors and listening to their player base and implementing what they're learning. Right. This is totally public because somebody was asking here. I'll put it in chat here. That's the link. Anyone can listen to it. It's an hour long or so, 50 minutes, but really it's only got about 15 minutes of English content, so it's very, very easy to hear. It's really not that interesting if you're interested in game stuff, right? We can boil this down in like 5 to 10 minutes of conversation, and then that's it. Oh, Croda has the full text on his blog. Croda's blog is Markets for ISK. Croda, if you are, I don't know if you are a VIP or if I can do that here, but no, but you guys can markets for ISK blogspot. I mean, I don't want to lie. Hold on. Yeah, markets for ISK.blogspot here. I'll link to Croda's. Here, there's a link to Croda's blog as well. So anyway, before we jump in to the report itself, I'll show you something else, and that's this. This right here is the Korean won versus US dollar, because this is something that is quite important before seeing the numbers. If you look at October 1st, right? The Korean won was worth $0.000694. Okay, this was the beginning of the quarter. The end of the quarter, December 31st, we were at 0.000798. All right, that's over 10% difference. Okay, that is huge in terms of currency fluctuation, right? So what Perlabis has to do as a Korean company is they report everything in Korean won, right? So if you assume that, let's say, revenue in dollars was flat, okay, but the US dollar lost value compared to the Korean won, then you would have a over 10% drop in revenue in Korean won, okay? So to just have flat numbers here, EVE numbers in US dollars overall would have had to outperform the previous quarter by 10 months. But US dollar strong? Yeah, unfortunately not this quarter. The US dollar wasn't strong. The Korean won gained back a lot of what they lost previously towards the US dollar. So having said that, let's look at the Q4 earnings report presentation by Perlabis. First of all, the first thing that that is obvious here is that if you look at the operating revenue over the years, then for the last 4 years, Perlabis has been posting dropping operating revenue, and that's quite significantly. That's not really surprising because the two big IPOs they have, Black Desert Online and Eve Online, they both they're both now older games, and they are not releasing new games, and they haven't released any major new games in the last 4 years. And so this is, you know, basically in maintenance mode. They are working on 2 new titles, Crimson Desert and Dokvi. They're working on more, but those are the 2 big ones. And those 2 are delayed. And so, you know, towards investors, this is not a great look, but it's not totally unsurprising, right? I'm going to skip over the Black Desert stuff, even though it's the most important to them, but it's not the most important to us as an Eve community. So let's focus on Eve. The big updates for the quarter that they were telling their investors were, of course, the Uprising expansion, because we're talking about the 4th quarter 2022 here. That's October, November, December. And they're talking about Eve Vegas as a user event, which, you know, I guess sounds good, but really wasn't. I mean, in terms of like what happened in 4th quarter, if that's one of your 2 biggest points, then I don't know. It's kind of weak, but it fits their narrative, as you will see in a second. Now, let's look at operating performance, okay? Operating performance, as we said, operating revenue in 2022 dropped year over year. Quarter over quarter, it kept increasing though. You would think, yeah, that's a very good thing. However, that is something that was happening in the previous years as well, as you can see by the 4th quarter revenue in 2021, which was 118 billion won. And so this has also dropped quite significantly by about 10% right here, right? From 4th quarter 21 to 4th quarter 22. So a drop year over year in operating revenue. The reason you have to compare quarters over quarters is because, you know, that way you compare the holiday season versus the holiday season, and etc. Right? There's several cyclical things going on. Now let's look at the operating profit. The operating profit is the profit that is driven by their core business, so by their gaming by their gaming titles, right? What they would consider core business. It has dropped significantly, right? But it's also been super erratic, right? And the reason for this is because they had, you know, in the 2nd quarter, they had some labor, some employee benefit program that was messing with the numbers, and so this is fluctuating quite significantly. So also here you have to look at it year over year, but that has also dropped, right? The really surprising thing is if you look at net profits, you see that they had been, you know, slightly positive for every quarter in the past year, and then all of a sudden this time they're posting a 100 billion won loss for the quarter. Clearly not from core business, right? This is not from their operations. This is something else. And if we look at the details later, then you will see that this comes from their financing and investing activities, meaning that they just made some very bad investments in the past. Pando, appreciate the rate and welcome everyone that's coming in from Pando's rate. We're looking at the Perlabis Q4 earnings report together. So from PvP to market analysis, you know, it's a very smooth transition, I would think, for most of you. Hey Panda. So fourth quarter, 100 billion won loss. This doesn't say anything about EVE Online, but this is really bad look for EVE Online, for Perlabis as a company. This is not good. This is quite a serious loss right here. At least you can say it's a one-time thing, right? It's a write-off of assets on the balance sheet, but it's still not good news overall. Now, this is if you watch my stream, then you know that this is the best part. This is where they break down the revenue by IP. And so here we can see the revenue of EVE Online over the quarters, and also the revenue of Black Desert Online. Now, for EVE Online, if you remember, I started this presentation saying that the Korean won 10% over the US dollar over the course of the fourth quarter, right? So EVE Online is pulling most of their revenue from the US and Europe, as you can see here, right? Especially for EVE Online. And so the dollar losing value against the won is very significant here. So, you know, this drop seems very steep. So it seems like they lost a lot of revenue quarter over quarter on EVE Online. However, if you factor in the currency changes, then this number is pretty much flat. All right. So not as dramatic as you would think. However, fourth quarter is also the quarter where Uprising dropped as an expansion. So we would have really hoped to see an increase in revenue based on Plex purchases, based on just people subscribing back into the game, right? We didn't see that. We certainly didn't see a strong increase in quarter over quarter revenue. Also because, and you might remember this from my last analysis last quarter, then 19 billion kwon right here was an increase over the 17 billion here. Yes, there was also currency effects on that, but also there was Plexageddon that happened in the last throes of Q3, and so that should have realized at least a little bit of revenue for Q3, and then also some revenue for Q4. Because you know, a quick recap here for Plexageddon, what they did is they got a lot of us to spend Plex on Omega from our stockpiles, or from in general player stockpiles. There was about $7 million US worth of Plex on their books at the beginning of the year. They got us to spend that on Omega, which gets realized as revenue the month that Omega happens, though. So the effect of Plexageddon, it didn't have a one-time bam effect in September. It had that effect a little bit, and then also we're going to continue seeing the Plexageddon effect in the following month as people quote unquote use up their Omega time, at which point it then gets realized as revenue on their income statement. So you know, I know that's a lot of math, or it's a lot of finance, but you know, I hope I'm making this clear. So it's really a way of smoothing out the revenue numbers over the quarters, I think, by injecting Plexageddon in their revenue numbers over the next months. So yes, Anger of the Gods. Why is it the second I look at a stream for this game, all I see is graphs? I'm not even in the game. I'm talking about the financials of the company that owns the company that is running EVE Online, right? That's how nerdy we get up in here, right? Okay. This stuff is just by platform. Yeah, just mobile. PC is taken over. Mobile is less interesting. I think EVE Echoes is not all that successful. Black Desert on mobile is not. So yeah. So here, revenue by region, also just an increase here typically means an increase also in EVE Online, but here it's unchanged to the last quarter. Some additional details on these numbers. So we saw the vastly increased expenses on Perlibis side in Q4, mainly higher commissions. Commissions is typically what they pay their Chinese partner, publishing partner. That shows up there. Vastly increased advertising. In Q4, they released some new content for EVE Online and also for Black Desert Online. So this is them advertising the new content. And then they have a lot of 6 billion KWON more, etc. spending. And etc. spending here, I don't know exactly what it is, but in the call they said that they had a lot of expenses for events. So Black Desert Online had 2 or 3 events across Europe and the US, and then there was also EVE Vegas going on, which I assure you did not cost anywhere near that, right? That was a very cheap trip for Perlibis. Yeah, so headcount is pretty much unchanged. And if we look at EVE Online, what is coming, simplified Chinese. Honestly, I thought they already did that, but I think that happened the first week of January, if I remember correctly. So this might just be, already have happened. And training program for new users. What the hell? I'm guessing what they're referring to is the new player experience and the 58th improvement on the new player experience. But yeah. So that's it. Last but not least, if you wondered, what I was going on about the net loss on financial activities, then you can see here the financial assets measured at their fair value. So that investments that they have made that depreciated because the companies that they bought or the companies they invested in are not as valuable as they were when they invested in them. You can see here they lost 200 billion KWON here. So this alone is a huge change, right? All right. That is it for Perlibis. Happy to answer any questions, and I'm going to catch up with chat real quick to see if I missed anything here. If you are stupid like me, I'm sure you're not, man. Does that explain the increased concurrency numbers we see in EVE? You mean the increased player number? No, it would be the other way around. Increased player numbers should mean more revenue. And this is about a month behind. So it would be the other way around. We're a little bit nerdy. Yes, you are. Who is this capless person talking financial stuff? It's me, Oz. Did someone steal Oz's hat? I like how you guys talk about my missing hat more than the financials. That's all right. Are they making enough money not to sell CCP? I mean, I don't know if they are contemplating it. That we could make a whole stream on reasons, pros and cons for them to sell or not sell CCP. Maybe we'll do that sometime. They should get their targeting straight. I get so much YouTube ads, although I'm already Omega. Yes, I also get, and social media advertising is expensive. So they are obviously spending a lot of money there. Fancy chairs for the desk? I don't think so. I know I used to be in digital marketing professionally. All right. Lost in the venture capital business. Yep. And apparently they're touching the NPE again. Yep. What on earth is Perlibis, a games developer, is doing with an investment business is beyond me. Yeah, they've invested in like a VR company and then they also invested in some online learning company. So yeah, it's just like they're losing more on their investment activities than they are on video games. Selling means someone needs to be willing to buy. Yeah, I'm saving up, guys. I'm saving up. Maybe we can just get together and buy us some CCP. The good news is no balance sheet write down for CCP, which implies CCP is profitable now. All right. Is that would that have happened this quarter? We can't see that from these details, Crota, can we? As long as it makes a steady profit, there are always companies who would buy CCP. Yep. Are they earning back their investment on CCP so far? Last year, CCP wasn't profitable. They had a pretty significant loss of what was it, $8 million US dollars or something. But that's because they are investing a lot in the development of new games. So that's the reason that CCP is posting a loss. Anyone know the quality of the EVE Online cap from the merch store? They didn't have it on site. Oh. Appreciate all the time and effort you put in your stream. Amazing content. Thank you. It's Faco. Appreciate it, man. For Black Desert event, they gave away like bags with $500 worth of stuff. All right, nice. Are we starting a GoFundMe for CCP? No, we're starting a GoFundMe to buy CCP. That's a big difference. Theoretically, I wonder how many plex it would take to buy CCP. Well, we know how much Pearl Abyss paid for them, a while ago, and we could make that. We could do that. I think they would have mentioned it if they wrote CCP down. The year end during the audit is when the write down would occur. Yeah, but if it's small, if it's small, then they might not mention it. Also, who knows what they're hiding behind this 100 billion won loss shit show. They could, on a very, very bad quarter like this, you can hide all sorts of shit. Are there earnings statements by CCP itself? Yes, once a year in April we get the tax filings from them with the Icelandic IRS. What is the estimated value of CCP currently? Like 7 times yearly earnings? Yeah, I mean, it depends on what multiple you slap on that. What multiples you slap on that bitch, but I think we have the earnings are like 15 mil per quarter or something. I think Eve on the year makes around 60 million. So yeah, 60 million US dollar revenue is what it is pretty much. Start a GoFundMe as a meme. That's right. Okay. That's Pearl Abyss. So we covered Eve News, we covered Pearl Abyss, and so now we're gonna move on to Plex 0 to Omega.